What do the Marlins do with Trevor Rogers? That is the question right now. We're going to dig into that plus so much more on today's Locked On Marlins after the Marlins are spanked in game one against the Cincinnati Reds.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to Locked On Marlins, your daily Marlins podcast with me, Peter Pratt. Follow me on Twitter at Miami Marlins _UK. Follow and subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Reminder, daily podcast, 5 episodes per week. Guests, very regular. Today, no guest. Solo pod on Tuesday. Guest the rest of the week. So just hopping on myself this one. Relatively breezy pod. There's some breaking news that's just dropped 5 minutes ago as we record this. But I wanted to spend most of today's episode looking and discussing with no one else, just put it out there to you guys, just where we're at with Trevor Rogers. Where are we at? It has gone so wonky with Trevor this year. It's absolutely insane. I watched the first inning live last night and 2 Ks. Obviously, Jonathan India just kind of jumped on one and laced a double. I was thinking, oh boy, here we go again. But Trevor Rogers gets out of it. 2 Ks in the inning. I'm thinking, okay, yep, settle in. The Marlins scored the run, 1-0 early lead. Thinking, can Trevor settle in? And can the Marlins offense do some damage? Wake up in the morning, a spoiler dropped. I actually was caught off guard with a spoiler and realized what the score was. I still went back and watched the game. Still did. This is it. This is the commitment to the cause, guys. Even when I know the Marlins are spanked 11-2, I still wanted to get my eyeballs on JJ Bleday at-bats. I still wanted to get my eyeballs on Nick Fortes at-bats, and I still wanted to see what Trevor Rogers could do. And boy, oh boy, Trevor Rogers, again, an article came out from Jordan McPherson maybe yesterday or early today. It looks like Jordan's been speaking with Trevor post-game. I didn't see any actual video footage from any of the post-game stuff. But what looked to me was, a conversation that Jordan had. Beat writer for the Herald, by the way, in case you're wondering who Jordan McPherson is. And for me, the main takeaway in that was Trevor's struggling mentally with the fact that it's not been good. We only have to look back to earlier in the year. This is the key thing, where Donnie was calling out about Eliezer Hernandez, about how it was impacting Eliezer. The fact that he was struggling game after game, and then there was multiple days in between where he's thinking about the starts, looking back, trying to work on things mentally, and he felt like it was time to give Eliezer a breather, a mental breather away from the big leagues, go and head down to AAA. And actually, coming back up, clearly it wasn't in the starting role, but in a bullpen role, he seemed to perform. I don't know whether the mental break worked. Maybe it did. But nevertheless, he's obviously then gone on to the IL. I believe it was the COVID IL. No designation on that. Haven't seen any updates on Eliezer since. But, we're at that point. I mean, let's be completely honest, guys. We've been at this point with Trevor Rogers for some time. It's not just this year. It was the second half of last year. We gave him a pass. He obviously was dealing with some family stuff. The Marlins were managing his load. But he didn't look great in spring. He's not looked good all year long. 1 or 2 starts here and there. But for Trevor, it's just struggles to get going in games, struggles to get out the first efficiently, and then seems to always have a blow-up inning. The same occurred yesterday, and it was even more pronounced yesterday. It felt like it was just high leverage all along. Paul Severino and JP Arencibia got into it on the broadcast, started kind of asking the questions. It's funny. It was funny yesterday on the broadcast in general, where there was 2 themes that Paul Severino wanted to get into, which he doesn't typically do, I wouldn't say, during the games. But clearly it was a blowout game. The Marlins have underwhelmed, I guess. They were underwhelming yesterday, no doubt. Paul Severino wanted to get into this Trevor Rogers situation. What's happening? What would you do? What would you change? And what's JP Arencibia seeing? And listen, JP was, a top level catcher. He knows the drill. And JP's view was, in terms of what's gone wrong for Trevor Rogers this year, it's the fact that last year he was fastball, changeup. That was the main mix, worked well. He's then tried to add this slider more significantly. And due to that, the mechanics of that and leaning on the slider more regularly, the mechanics of that is affecting both his change where he's actually leaving it kind of more middle. And yesterday, it wasn't middle, but it was middle down, I think it was, and ended up disappearing from memory. And I think that's a really interesting bit of insight there from JP Arencibia, that it is maybe the fact that he's tried to add this third pitch more regularly, but the mechanics of it, the fastball changeup is more natural, I guess, from a release point, an arm mechanics perspective, whereas the slider is kind of a real different motion. And that's thrown everything else off, which is a really interesting observation. The question you then got to ask is, okay, is it time to kind of revert back? And Trevor, again, in this article that Jordan put out, he's saying he's even gone back to watch 2021 games. I'd actually like to do the same too. I think I might do the same. Put some eyeballs on a Trevor Rogers start in the early part of 21 and just see the differences. It was funny, right? Where yesterday Eli put out some content of Avi Garcia last season hitting for the Brewers against the Reds. And it was just so stark, wasn't it, when you saw that, just how big and how much weight Avi Garcia is carrying this year. So sometimes you do have to go back and just look, get your eyeballs on it, and try and work out what has changed and how different it looks. For me this year, the fundamental thing, he just hasn't been missing enough bats. Like, it's just the overarching sense. He struggles with a put-away pitch. Maybe he doesn't know what that is anymore. He's leaning on this slider, but the slider's impacting the other pitches, Lean on the change. It's a bit like Pablito. Pablito was just striking everyone out on the changeup. And maybe Trevor's just overthought things. And he's just kind of got in his own head. He's now worrying. He's panicking. The main thing he said, though, was, I know I can do this. But at times he's questioning it. And that goes back again to what Donnie was talking about Eliezer, where do you give him the mental blow? Do you let him go back to AAA, work some things out, less pressure situation, just get back to being you, get back to pitching rather than thinking about pitching and then getting blown up? I think the words he used was getting his butt handed to him or his ass handed to him, whatever it may be. But nevertheless, the problem the Marlins are in here now is Max Meyer's down. And, we saw the reports from today, Craig Mish saying that Tommy John is not out of the equation. So that's seriously disappointing news for Max, disappointing news for the Marlins. Me and Sean talked about it yesterday on the episode as well. We've got one start and a bit of an inning at the major league level for Max Meyer. And, the development path has been really kind of broken, really, with, obviously the COVID situation. And it's hard for the Marlins to fully assess what Max Meyer can be. I think we've all got a sense that he can be absolutely legit, but as decisions start to need to be made about what the future may look like from a rotation and an offensive perspective, and what trade and how they look to upgrade this offense, the Marlins don't quite know what they have in Max Meyer still, and that creates a bit of a problem. Very intrigued too, just thinking about what the trade deadline may hold for Trevor Rogers too, because he's still pre-arb. Clearly, he had a stunning period in 2021. He's a lefty guy, looks like a worker. I'm not going to question that. He looks like a worker. He wants to do well. His desire is there. There's teams out there that will be thinking, it's not been great, but can we go and pick up a Trevor Rogers and see if maybe a change of approach? I trust Mel Stottlemyre in anything with any pitcher, but the regression is concerning. Other teams may be thinking about that too. The question then comes is, do the Marlins look to cash in on like a Trevor Rogers? Because before the year, let's go back to it. If you're thinking before the year, who has the highest trade value of all of the Marlins? Everyone, including Jazz, including Sandy. I mean, Trade Calculator may have said Trevor Rogers was the most valuable Marlin because he's on league minimum with 5 years of control, I think, at that point, coming off a stunning year. So, I mean, it's been a rapid fall from that spot, but nevertheless, there's still value in Trevor Rogers. And I think there'll be people asking lefty guys that, have shown what they've shown. It's very intriguing. It really is. Let's not forget Jake Eder. He's coming down the pipe. Jesus Luzardo coming back soon. The Marlins do have some lefty options that are coming. And so does that maybe, let them listen on Trevor? I don't want them to sell low. I'd prefer to try and fix it. But, I'm not quite sure what the problems have been. Nevertheless, underwhelming again from Trevor. It feels to me like he's in his own head in summary. And hearing him talk to Jordan McPherson via this article anyway, that's kind of ringing through, like it's bothering him. He's overanalyzing maybe, he's trying to get it right. He can't get it right. He's frustrated. Maybe it's time for a mental blow. And the fact that the Marlins effectively are sliding out of this now, this might be the right time. It really might be. So with that being said, guys, let's get from Trevor Rogers over to jewelry. Why not? Why not? And at BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating custom engagement ring of your dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. So if you're ready to pop the question or celebrating a milestone moment, you can find jewelry as unique as her with modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. So let's talk engagement. If you're thinking about dropping on one knee with that ring in the air, go and get the perfect ring for your bride-to-be. Blue Nile is simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, as I've said before, bigger is better, and clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile's jewelers will then handcraft a perfect engagement ring, each one, yes sir, one of a kind. Bespoke engagement ring for your bride-to-be. Sounds absolutely sensational. Or if you're thinking about life special moments with fine jewelry and you're having trouble choosing, it can be tricky. Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And right now, Blue Nile anniversary sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Boy, oh boy. You can, hold on. Plus, every order is insured. Of course it is. It ships free and arrives in discreet packaging. It's not going to give away what's inside. You can shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right then, guys. So that's Trevor Rogers. In my opinion, if it was me, if I'm wearing the GM's hat, I am sending Trevor down. Where you've reached the tipping point. It's time. Mental breather for Trevor. Go down to AAA, less pressure, work it out. However, people will be calling on Trevor. It would not shock me if they make a move on Trevor Rogers, because Luzardo and Eder are available. Lefty rotation options. We like Eder a lot. We have to move 1-2 arms. We have to. The offense is too old, is too cumbersome. It's just lacking impact. We have to get impact hitters immediately. Not for this year, because I think this year's cooked, and I think it's going to be hard to do. But by the time we start the next year, at least 2 of probably the current rotation need to be traded. And I'm not looking for 19-year-old studs. I'm not looking for 18-year-old Khalil Watsons. I'm looking for major league ready or pre-ARB guys that have a proven track record. That's what the Marlins' task is right now. It is. There's no other task. We have to upgrade this offense. We have to find a way to do it. And if we have to clear vets now, as part of those deals, absolutely. Third base, where are we going? Brian Anderson on the IL. Tough to move him now. He is due $6 million, let's say, next year in arbitration. Could they go for the non-tender Alfaro situation? It's possible. I think the market would be there for Brian Anderson, perhaps for as a 1-year pre-ARB or as an ARB guy final year, perhaps. Miguel Rojas, shortstop. Defense is fine. Problem is, All the best teams out there, they're getting serious production at the shortstop position. They are. Miguel Rojas is never going to give that level of production. He isn't. The Marlins have to consider that. Miguel Rojas, perfect backup guy. The money works. They need to find a way to upgrade at shortstop. They do. Jazz Chisholm, leave him at second base. He's fine there. He's an absolute stud. Here's the other situation. First base. Lewin Diaz has been recalled finally. Garrett Cooper going to the IL. 10-day, not 60. So that's positive news. I'm assuming that they've got some degree of clarity on his wrist. The wrist is just being called a contusion, not a fracture, not a break. I think we all first kind of feared that was the likely situation, and maybe Coop's season was over. At the moment, without any more, sounds like it's a 10-day rest up, Coop, Lewin Diaz back up. And what do I want to see from Lewin Diaz? I want to see him play every day, every single day for the next 10 days or whatever it may be. I think it's retro for Coop. So let's say it's 8 days. I want to see Lewin Diaz every single day. At first, in the main, maybe some DH to give him a little blow. I want to see it. I want to see it right now. I want to see JJ Bleday in center field every day. No blows. No load management, sir. Don Mattingly said it. No load management. JJ Bleday out there. I don't know what's been going on with Lewin Diaz. It's been a topic that's bothered me all year. Me and Alex Carver got into it early in the year. Do you remember when Lewin Diaz, when he drove about 55 hours, no sleep, had a load of coffee to sit on the bench, and then was sent back into, I don't know, Jacksonville again the next day? They've treated Lewin Diaz like he's some sort of organizational depth. They've treated Willians Astudillo, Eric Gonzalez, any of them. They've treated all them better than Lewin Diaz. He's one of the top prospects in the system. And I don't know what the Marlins have been doing with Lewin Diaz. I've said it yesterday on the pod. I don't think they believe in him. But the injury to Coop means that we're going to have to see him again. I mean, for me, like, we should have been looking at Lewin some time ago. We need to know. We need to know, is Lewin a legitimate option? A legitimate option for next year and beyond? Because if he isn't, the Marlins are going to have to address first base again. Because, you know, Aguilar's not going to be here next year. I'm not sure he's going to be here after the deadline. He shouldn't be. Maybe Cooper's injury will play into that, because there's not really much trade value in that. Maybe you keep Aggie if Cooper's going to be down longer. But we need to know. We need to know where we're at with Lewin Diaz going into next year and give him the playing time. We know the glove's going to be good, but can the bat hold? Can it? Because it has to. Because of the production levels at first base across the league, sizable. And the Marlins, they can't just kind of have, you know, a Jesus Sanchez type of production at first base and left there to just kind of flail away and, you know, whatever. We have to work out, is Lewin Diaz, is he real? We're going to get the chance to see that, I believe. I think he'll be starting today. And I think he's going to get the chance to play, you know, right through to the deadline and perhaps beyond. It's a very intriguing time for Lewin Diaz. I'm excited. He's one of my favorite prospects in the system, always has been. So intrigued to see. Final ad, then we'll wrap up today's episode. And this is one of my favorite ones, actually. It's the Sports Card Investor app. Listen, there's so many guys getting into baseball cards, trading cards, and, you know, effectively, you know, this gives you the opportunity to turn the hobby, the collector element, and, you know, turn it into something, you know, maybe more financial using your experience, and the app will help you along too. So welcome to the world of sports cards reimagined. The Sports Card Investor app is the hobby's most powerful resource. Quickly check the value of your favorite cards. Find great deals and profit from the hobby you love. Available completely for free in Google Play and Apple App Stores. Sports Card Investor app is a must-have for baseball fans. Must have. If it was me, where would I be going now? I was already saying a few weeks back, I'd be all over the Max Meyer one. I mean, boy, oh boy, bad news today. But, you know, JJ Bleday has been trending, right? We're going to talk about JJ shortly. But if it was me, pile into JJ Bleday. The other one too, like I mentioned earlier, I've mentioned his name a couple of times in this pod. Jake Eder, let's not forget, had Tommy John last year, but he was better than Max Meyer last year in AA. Jake Eder was an absolute phenom. If he comes back strong from Tommy John, which is likely, there's a good chance that Jake Eder is in the Marlins rotation next year. There really is. and may even crack the rotation depending on what they do more generally. So Jake Eder for me, go and check it out and have a look and see. Blade equally trending. There's tons of studs in this Marlins system that you could pile into. So what have you got to do? I've already mentioned it. Download the Sports Card Investor app today. It's available for free in the Google Play and Apple App stores, or go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked on. All right, then, guys, final segment before we get out of here on Tuesday. And JJ Bleday. I've loved what I've seen. The stance looks dominating. Like, he looks like he's going to hit. It's one of those where you're kind of watching a guy and you think, he looks together. He looks completely together. And I just feel confident with Bleday at the plate. I really do. Another double yesterday against the lefty. And it's great to see. The question I put out there earlier on in my, game summary video via Twitter, what's taken the Marlins this long? And this is what's kind of nagging at me. I'm getting, you may sense this, I'm getting increasingly frustrated about just the strategic approach, direction, decision making. Bleday's clearly been raking in AAA for some time. He has. There's been the whole of the outfield for the Marlins struggling since June? May, maybe. Soler, De La Cruz, Jesus Sanchez, Avi Garcia, Brian Anderson. Actually, Brian Anderson's been okay recently, but now on the IL. Nevertheless, there's been so many guys struggling. De La Cruz started the year in AAA. They shouldn't be afraid to send him back there. They shouldn't. Okay. I guess it's this kind of platoon situation. Maybe they're kind of, they've gone over, they've got so drawn into the analytics now. Hey, we have to have the lefty bat there, and we have to have the righty bat, and, It's gone too far. The Marlins all year long have been too slow to react. They have. They've been too slow to react to guys that are heating up in AAA, guys that are fully ice cold at the big league level, that have minor league options. I just don't understand it. Blade comes up, big prospect. The Marlins clearly want him to do well. Obviously, they invested a first-round pick into JJ Blade. They want him to do well. We all do. He's been doing well in AAA. He's shown enough. But he'd shown enough months ago. And this is what nags me with the Fish, the fact that they've just left it too long. What are they waiting to see? What more can they see? They could have easily sent down Jesus or De La Cruz or done something else. I don't know. Nevertheless, let's not be negative about it. What I've seen, I really like. I love the approach. Like I said, the hyperbole about that walk in his first plate appearance, or at bat, I guess. The plate the approach was wonderful. Then 2 hits, including an extra base hit, a stolen bag on Sunday's game. The guy can do everything. I haven't really seen him tested in the outfield so much. The Marlins not being too many kind of tricky balls for him. Balls seemed to be kind of like hit towards Brian De La Cruz yesterday, and they were kind of sneaking by him. But nevertheless, I've loved what I've seen. Let's not forget, we loved what we saw from Jesus Sanchez last year too. When he came up, when they cleared Dickerson out the way, Jesus Sanchez looked like a legit major league hitter. And I do think at the heart of everything here this year, Jesus Sanchez has been drained mentally by having to play center field. I think it's impacted him significantly. And he looks tired. Let's think back. Jesus Sanchez, what do you think of last year? I know what I think of. I think of a Soto shuffle and a big smile. I've seen no shuffling and no smiling. The guy's tired mentally. And it's been a struggle for him this year. I think he's enjoyed having Brian De La Cruz around, and I wonder if that's part of the reason. Jesus Sanchez and Brian De La Cruz, every time I see images on, in the clubhouse, in the dugout, those two guys are there together. Energy, feeding off each other. And perhaps that's what, part of the decision. Keep Brian De La Cruz around, help Jesus Sanchez get through it. I wonder. I don't know. Nevertheless, Bleday's up. That all of a sudden creates a situation now. The Marlins need to play Blade every day. Lewin Diaz, I believe, needs to play every day. Nick Fortes was DHing yesterday. I want to see more Nick Fortes. The Marlins can't continue just letting Jacob Stallings just roll this, very substandard offense forevermore. They really can't. Fortes needs to be hitting more. Fortes, it's just been so bad for Stallings. It really has. That the time has come that he looks miles better at the plate, and the Marlins really need that too. They really do. Avi Garcia, Avi baby, he got the RBI yesterday, so that was nice. He also had an unlucky double play when the bases were juiced. I'm still shocked that Avisail Garcia has never hit a career grand slam. It's wild. For a 30 home run a year hitter, never to hit a grand slam. One final note, though, guys, then I'll get out of here in a relatively brief solo pod. Zach Pop yesterday gave up the salami. However, the main other news as well, exited the game after with some sort of arm issue again. Haven't seen any news thus far yet, although I'm checking on Twitter as we speak. But the likelihood is that the Pop's going to probably hit the IL as well if he's struggling as well. So Pablito goes today. The lineup has just been announced, actually. So here we go. Astudillo is back in there at second base. They have no real choice. Joey Wendell is in at shortstop, which is interesting. Lewin Diaz sits there at first base. And JJ Bleday back in there at center field. Love to see that. So Jesus Sanchez back out into left field. Stallings is catching because, it's Pablo. It's Pablo day. One final one. Could this be Pablo Lopez's last start for the Marlins? Could it be? It's possible. Teams have been calling on Pablo Lopez. You have to call on Pablo Lopez. He's been one of the best pitchers in the league by the numbers this year. He's got one extra year of control. The Marlins will be fielding a lot of calls on Pablo. I'm very intrigued to see whether they can turn that into a significant offensive piece. The same with Trevor Rogers. That could legitimately be Trevor Rogers' last Marlins start as well. By the way the schedule works, both Trevor and Pablo would be scheduled to get another start in before the deadline itself. But we've seen deals happen before that, so we'll wait and see on that one. But Pablo Lopez going. The Marlins trying to get something going. Lewin Diaz is in. JJ Bleday in. Love to see it. We're going to get some of the youngsters in the mix. Miggy Rowe having a blow. Jesus Sanchez back into left field. So it's a young outfield. De La Cruz, Sanchez, and JJ Bleday. Interesting. Lewin Diaz in at first base. There's a lot to enjoy and watch today in this game too, for sure. So let's see how the Marlins roll. But guys, I am out of here for Tuesday's episode. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. I do appreciate it, guys. I hope you are enjoying the show. I know it's been at times relatively challenging with some of the the underperformance, let's say. But if you're thinking about your second listen, then Locked On MLB podcast is there for you. And MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan, Sully, he brings humor, passion, and a unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Audacity app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hopefully I'll be on there soon with Sully. No doubt. I think the Marlins are going to be a big story at this deadline. I'm sure he's going to have his work cut out covering all of the teams and all the action. I think this is going to be a busy deadline. But guys, that is me done for Tuesday's episode. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow and we will have a guest, which I believe will be Loud Marlins fan. Looking forward to that one, guys. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, enjoy Pablo Day and let's go fish.